Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Intrepid Racing. We're here in Imola. It's a very dry qualifying, and we are ready for these 15 drivers to get this action underway. I'm your host and your commentator, GoldenSniper here, alongside a new face in the chopping block here in IRL. It is my good man, Mark. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing good. How are you, mate?
He's doing absolutely lovely, mate. What do you expect here? Obviously, in Imola, a lot of track limits flying around last time. Here in Tier 2, what are you hoping for this race?
I mean, a little less of that. Just a little less. How do I say it? Like everything went down to penalties, and hopefully we can have some more clean racing. A little less of those penalties.
I'll see. Speculation on down the grid. After yesterday's Tier 2 race, one of the actual sour drivers, Matthias Cunha, has been banned from the league for poor racing standards and just general accumulation of a lot of penalties. So let's hope that doesn't happen today, as a couple of drivers are going to be on their outlaps now. You have Meeksy, Aussie Man, Lewis, Max Messiah, Stamso, and Fakano already on their outlaps. A couple people coming out of the pits now as well. But that is not what we're looking for here. We're looking for the fastest lap. It's only one qualifying session here. And let's hope for some really good laps flying in. A couple new faces as well. You've got Tyrrell in the Aston Martin. He's making his debut. You've got, I think that's pretty much it. Fakana back in another McLaren seat, another reserve drive for him. You've got people from last week at a really good race. You've got Mark, Cobus, Solzy. Everyone's doing really well in Monaco. And by Monaco, I mean there's only 3 finishes. Solzy was actually P2, got a nice podium for himself. Actually, that's just Tier 3. That's Tier 2. That is my bad. That is my bad. Talking about Tier 2, there are only 3 finishes. In Tier 1, I was actually commentating, and I just forgot everything about it. Solzy actually got P4, so he wasn't about to get P3, but the other Sauber driver of Slater actually was about to get disqualified, but he got it rescinded. So, let's see what these drivers can do here in qualifying. Mark, who are we going to look for? Who are we going to look towards come the end of this? Who do you think is going to get in your top 3?
Obviously, some of the leaders in the construct, or not in the constructors, in the drivers, but um, we know the championship constructors Red Bull. Can they make a comeback here today? And that all starts with qualifying, as one Red Bull is in the pits and one is just coming across the line to start their lap. But Aussie Man, the first person to come across the line to start without invalidating. The McLaren goes off turn 10, but Aussie with a 1:15.5.
That's a good lap from the Williams driver. As we're now going to cut to, I believe, the next across the line without Meeks is invalidated, and behind him you have Stamso in that V car coming across the line now, setting a 1:14.9 on soft tyres. Good lap for the V car driver. Couple drivers now coming across the line. It is going to be more invalidations for the Aston Martin and the McLaren and the Mercedes behind him, as Fakana sets a 1:40 on softs, maybe using that as a record down lap to warm up his tyres as he's burning all that ERS through. You've got Solzy sitting at 1:15.7. That's a great time for him. He's going to use the record down lap. Maybe he's going to be seeing it behind him. Hash Brown, a toe. But Hash Brown is on an outlap, so he may just want to back off a bit, as Cobus has a 1:16.1 as a caution in sector 1. That is a Sauber of Meeksy going wide, or maybe he's just letting people through to not impede on their quality laps. You've got in front of him, I think that is another V-Cub, or maybe a Red Bull. It is Stamso just letting people by. A lot of people going off track to let people by, and there's more carnage everywhere. You've got just coming across the line, there's an Alpine. No, it's Aussie Man. Aussie Man's just done a quarter lap. He's going to fly through. Coming across the line now, coming up to the last couple of corners, is Scorenzi on an outlap. Behind him, you do have, if my buttons could work correctly, you've got Lewis who's going to come across the line around the final corner. He's actually coming to the pit, so his lap is not as good as he hoped. So far, only 5 laps have been completed, and people have set times. Fakana doing a really good job with a 1:16.2. He improves a lot on his last time, and that is a great to see for the McLaren driver. Coming across the line, you have, I believe, Hash Brown, but he did do an outlap, so he's going to fly around on track. Still no times set for either Astons, as Impulse flies in with a 1:14.6. That is definitely one of the times to beat here, as that is a bloody lovely lap there from the Alpine driver.
Let's break down that lap. And, Sector 1 was his fastest, the first sub 24 for Sector. But the last 2 sectors, Sector 2 and Sector...
Whoa! Sorry to cut you off there, Mark. Sorry about that. Cobus has just spun off the second chicane, and he's just clipped the curb a little bit, coming wide and just spins into the gravel trap. He's going to slow down a little bit to let the drivers pass and to rejoin track safely. Sorry to cut you off, Mark. Please continue.
No problem. Yeah, but that lap from the Alpine, the first sector was the first sub 24 second sector we've had. But the last 2 seconds, or the last 2 sectors, weren't too bad, but they were still not the fastest. So we know that there's some wiggle room but he is 0.2 seconds away from that gap. So that was a monstrous first sector.
Absolutely monstrous first sector. Meeksy being that driver with 200 of a second behind. Impulse with 1:14.7. Great lap for the Savage Joy. He's had a good couple of weekends in qualifying. We can turn back to Monaco, actually. His debut, the full qualifying session, P1 in both Q1 and Q2. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done in Q3 where it mattered, but still a great showing what he can do here in IRL. As Sorenzi says, so 1:14.9 as you were talking about. Impulse is like 1:14 is a great time for the Red Bull driver. Hash Brown says a 1:15.5. He beats his teammate by 2 seconds. 2/10 of a second, sorry. And still no laps from Mark Lewis. Either Aston of Tyrrell or Max or Nerfanova in the only Haas in this weekend. And Slater had to pull out due to a massive, I believe he's forcing to be tangled in his seat. So still no laps for anything of the bottom 5. When it comes across now to Impulse, who is getting a lovely tow from his teammate, Beetle. He's going to come across the line now, burning all the air as he can. What time will he set on the board? It is a 1:14.4. Great time. But he did invalidate, so it does not count. I am a little bit stupid. Anyway, let's see who we can focus on, Marky boy. Let's have a look. Just coming across the line now. Mark is going to fly in with a 15.2. That is extremely awkward. Mark's cloned himself. He's now driving and he's in my com box. What are the chances? Not none of the chances. We love double Mark squared, or whatever you want to call it.
Let's go on board with Lewis. He's coming into his final sector. He's about timing speed. He's not doing too impressive of the sector rundown, but he's going to come across the line very close. 16.5. It's in last place, I believe.
So in last place, he is still towards that bottom 5. Of course, no one is going to get yeeted out. Just one qualifying session, so everyone sets their time, everyone goes down the race. As Max does set a 1:16.2 for his first lap, the Aston Martin. Still no time for Tyrrell. As we cut to Tyrrell, he's actually off track a little bit, coming down the chicane just at sector 3. We've got behind him, I believe that is a Mercedes. He's a Mercedes of Cobus, who is on an outlap. So Tyrrell will come across the line now to finish his lap. He's actually come to the bits. His lap there, not good enough as he's actually smashed the brake board on the pit entrance. Naughty boy. He's coming to the pits and said, "You know what? Have that one, son." He's a little bit frustrated with the way his lap went. But he comes into the pits, hoping to improve. As a couple of drivers are still on their own, a couple of drivers actually flying through the track here. You've got Max, who comes into the pits. A couple of drivers crossing the line now. We're going to cut across to Meeksy, who is on an lap. Why don't you take us through his lap, Mark?
Meeksy in the
Sauber.
He's going through the first sector right now. Not too bad. Let's go to the second sector and break it down from there. Meeksy's already in P2, so we're gonna hope to see improvements here. He's aiming to get 2/10 faster. He's not. There's no difference from his previous lap, I believe. It is the same first sector time for the weeks. Oh, as he's invalidated.
Very awkward. And he's actually gone off track again. Unfortunate for the Sauber man himself. Couple drivers cross the line now. Still, seeing any massive improvements, but for now, you have a nice Alpine sandwich. You have Impulse in P1, Visual P1, I should say. There's caution Sector 3. I believe that's just one of the Mercedes letting the McLaren of Fagana pass, as Vibey has joined the session. So there's a second McLaren who just spawned in to this session, still awaiting on the other Sauber of Brandis Barnes to see if he will join this qualifying session. But Vibe is going to come in and use his pace almost immediately to shoot down some of these drivers who think they have it all. But that's not waiting for you, waiting for the race. The race is where is most important. And let's just have the race to be as interesting as the qualifying session. So, Impulse Visual P1 in pole, with still the time to beat at 14.6. Lovely lap early on. Still no one's yet to beat it. The only man who's close enough is Meeksy. About 200th of a second is a caution in Sector 2. That is Fakana having a moment just coming out of the first corner of Sector 2. Not the way you want it. He's actually come off wide out of the next corner. I have no idea what the corner names are. I am useless. Jesus Christ. As we'll have a look at Terrell here in the Aston Martin. It's cool. The yellow flag's flying around everywhere. Terrell is going to burn. He's not burning actually anything. He's keeping it on hot lap and medium throughout the first sector. Lovely corners for him. He's had a 24-1 in the first sector. He's actually set no time so far. So what is he going to be able to push here in Imola? Makes he sets a 14-2 to pip Impulse for provisional pole. As we're on board still with Tyrrell flying around Sector 2, flying beautifully. He almost cut I forgot what the corner name is. Andrew said it yesterday. It was beautiful how he pronounced it. He's almost cut the chicane as he's going to break off to the side. He's actually invalidated his lap. He's let Ferrari past, and that will be a chance to recharge his battery or come back into the pits for maybe another fresh set of soft tyres. Speaking of tyres, we're going to quickly look at the tyre wear. Everyone is pretty much on fresh softs, 2 lap tyres, 1 lap tyres. Still extremely soft for qualifying as Tyrrell comes into the pits. Couple drivers still flying through. And we will cut to Fakana, who is on a flyer, 2 lap old softs. And what can he put on the board? Current fastest time for him is a 15.3, as you do see Meeksy leading the man past. Does he make up 1.2 seconds to get that pole time? There's a caution, Sector 3. Meeksy's doing really slow. He's definitely, if I'm not mistaken, he's low on fuel and just trundling down the straight. As Fakana is going to come across the line and burning all his DRS and flying over that rear wing to activate DRS, coming across the line. A 15.1 is not a bad time, but it's not quick enough for pole.
It's just about
next to... Go on.
it's just about time that we see these people come out. We hit that 3-minute mark where people are going to start to make their last lap preparations. And I mean, we have only 2 people out right now on the grid, and we're going to see people just start coming out in masses. But what would you tell these drivers right now to maybe motivate them, maybe to just tell them what, maybe one piece of advice that would be great towards getting a high position?
Obviously, speed is going to be your main priority here. Another thing is you want to be really gentle on the brakes. Some corners are extremely tight. You don't want to invalidate, obviously, through the middle part of sector 2 with that double right hand. And that is a really tricky part to get it nailed in. But I do trust most of these drivers to get it done. Just a couple of invalidations flying left, right, and center so far, but that's usually the norm here at Imola. But yeah, just be gentle on the brakes, keep your tournament corners nice and tight, and you should have a good time. As Cobus or Lewis, one of the Mercedes, tried to smash one of the braking boards just for a bit of confetti. A lot of drivers on their out lap, some drivers still flying, maybe doing a cool down lap or two. Speaking of cool down lap, Fakane is about 7 seconds off his time. He's definitely cooled down. You'd say the engine's nice and cool, ready to burn a shit ton of his ERS. And yeah, it's going to be 1 minute 20 left in this qualifying session. Meeks is still provisional pole with 1:14.2. He's going to start his outlap and he's flying around sector 1 as we look at it. But which of these drivers will be able to set the fastest lap come the end of it? There's a minute left. Drivers still crossing the line and whatnot. Starting their flying laps, starting their outlaps. Everyone's going to start a flying lap. Nerf still in the pits. He hasn't started a lap there. I don't think he's here. He hasn't turned up. That's very, very odd for the only harsh driver for this weekend. As now coming across the line is, was that a Williams or am I just a bit spec? Nope, that is Tyrrell. He's going to start his flying lap. A lot of drivers starting their flying laps. A lot of drivers going to start their end laps. As we're going to look at Hashbrand coming across the line, starting his flying lap. You've got in the pits right now, Fakana. He's going to retire from the session. He's not all he can, finishing provisional P8 with a 1:15.1. Decent time for the McLaren driver. As who's just come across the line now? We've got Aussie Man, who is unable to improve, but he does get in to that last 5 seconds as qualifying is done. A lot of drivers are able to finish their laps. So Football Dog, Impulse and Stamso, their qualifying session is done. Vibey and Newfoundland yet haven't set a lap, so they're going to start the back of the grid. Lewis, his qualifying session is done with a 15 points, with a 16.5, sorry, as when it cut across to Meeksy flying through the end of sector 2, coming across the line now. Actually, he's going to be Solzy, and Solzy is unable to really improve on his time. He still stays PA. He's actually pipped for Kano. Aussie Man retires on track, actually, so he might have had a moment coming out of one of the sectors. Actually, no, he's just retired on track in qualifying. Solzy will drop down actually to P10 as Mark and Terrell. Actually, Terrell's had a great lap just at the end. He set a 14.4 to put himself onto P3. That is a great last lap there. A great redemption lap for the Aston Martin driver. As Hash Brown crosses the line, he doesn't improve on his time. He stays P8, meaning into the pit lane now. That is your pole sitter. Meeksy of 1:14.213. Scorenzi almost beat him with a 14.256. And that is your qualifying done and dusted for this Italian GP, the first of 2 Italian GPs. Obviously, we're going to have Monaco a bit later. Monza a bit later in the season. But how'd you figure that one, Mark? How'd you find that one?
I mean, we were about to see a double Alpine, not podium, but almost on the front row. But we can run down the grid real quick. Would you like to do the honors or me?
Now, while I'll have a crack at it, you've got Maxey in pole. You know, Serenzi, P2, Terrell, great lap at the end, P3. Both Alpines, P4 and 5. You've got Samso in P6. Mark, P7. Hash ran the first two Ferrari drivers in P8. Aussie Man, P9. And to round out the top 10, you have Solzy Fakana just missing on that top 10 spot. In P11, Cobus and Messiah make up P12 and 13. And then all the other drivers at the back of the grid. Lewis, the last of the drivers to set a time actually in Imola. So let's hope this race is going to be bloody good. Please, for the sake of it, do not ready up. Immediately, at least. It's going to be a nice overcast race. There might be some rain coming in. I'm not too sure as of yet, but it does look a bit overcast. So what do you think the chance of rain is going to be coming into this race, Mark?
I'm looking at the weather right now, and I'm just seeing straight overcast, no rain, but there could be spots of rain across the track, but it's not going to hit solely in between turns and whatnot. But obviously, it won't affect the race seriously. I don't see any inters or wets coming out in these driver strategies, but yeah, this should be an interesting race.
It can be really interesting race as the people in Panic Club actually just getting it full limbs as Football Dog does join back in the session and a bit of a disconnect moment, but could see him back in as we do wait for these drivers to ready. What would you say would be your top three come the end of the race, Mark?
Uh, I think it's gonna be scores. Scorsese needs to score a bunch of points here to get Red Bull back up to where it's been season one, season two. But I would have my money on Scorsese. Formula. It's for Mar in the. I don't have the
The
timing.
Alpine.
Yeah, in the Alpine, and let's go for Lewis down in P14.
A Lewis podium, that's not me bingo card this week. Anyway, speaking of the Drivers' Championship, let's quickly run it through and see if we can have enough time to squeeze it in. So, currently leading at Squirt is actually retiring from the season. He said he's too avid playing golf, probably the next Tiger Woods. So, Scorenzi will take the lead by deficit, I'm guessing. With 103 points behind him, you got Slater Vaughan, who can't turn up this week. P2, Damien actually might come back in to F1 here in IRL. Not sure about that. He may get a seat somewhere else. Hash Brown will be in P4. Is 65 points. Mark 47 points in P6. P7, Masaki, who's retired from the season due to various internet issues up and down the season so far. So he's decided to take a break, see if he can get that fixed. You got Solzy in P7 with 33 points. Impulse behind him with 28. And you got Brandon Spons or Free Palestine on the same amount of points. It's actually a lovely three-way tie for P8. Obviously, Andrew as well, or Neon, or Goober McManana Pants, whatever you want to call him, slotting in with Impulse and Free Palestine. And you've got B Dot, who is technically P9, but on this he's P11. And to round out the provisional top 10, Stamso with 25 points is now going to fly over to the World Constructor standings. You've got Haas leading the way with 184 points, followed by McLaren with 127. Sauer's going to be looking to pip them for P2, but with Macy being the only Sauber driver, you'd have to pull out a masterclass of a race. You've got Red Bull behind them. It's actually 6 points between McLaren, Sauber, and Red Bull. Sauber is beating Red Bull by one singular point. Actually, it's 7. It's my bad. It's my bad. Actually, 7 points between the top, between McLaren, Sauber, and Red Bull. You got P5 just in there. You got my boys Alpine pipping Ferrari last week in Tier 1 with 83 points. You got Ferrari actually in P6. Red Racing Bulls or V Cub in P7. Mercedes, Lewis's team with his boy Kobus in P8. Williams all the way down in P9. And you've got down at the bottom Aston Martin with 14 points. But can they definitely get some good points here in Imola? Terrell with a great qualifying lap P3. And let's just wait and see for these 5 red lights as the paddock boys are giving absolute limbs and a half here in the beautiful city of Italy. Mark, come the end of the season, mate, who do you think's going to bring a real surprise? First of all, in this race, and we'll just give a rundown of who else do you think is going to bring a surprise halfway through the season.
Mark Lax, of course, he shares my name, but he's been constantly in this mid pack, so we need to return to glory for Red Bull, obviously.
So Mark is definitely Mark's Mark's driver to watch come this race. I'm actually going to go with Tyrrell. Obviously on his debut, P3 is a lovely way to cap it off. And let's just hope he can perform well to get some points on debut, whether it be... We're going to put him, if I were to predict where to finish, we're going to give him a nice, comfortable P7. Hoping he doesn't DNF. P7's in a lovely part for him, as the 5 red lights are underway almost. Here in a very overcast Imola. And it's 5 red lights, and it's lights, and away we go. Meeks is a great set-off, but Sorengi's actually going to pass him on the first straight as he comes across to the first corner. These instants up and down. Fakana's actually dropped to the back of the grid. Moments are flying everywhere. Cars are flying everywhere. No one having any moment as of yet. There's a caution in the back, and that is Scorenzi all the way to the back of the grid. That is unfortunate for the Red Bull driver. A moment sprung up, and he was the one to take most of it. And it's very, very unfortunate for the Red Bull driver and the Red Bull team, as Meeks does lead the way here to the start of Sector 2. Terrell has actually lost a lot of positions to P8. He's lost it to Cobus, Football Dog, Solzy, Hashbrand, and Samso. So he's lost a lot of positions as Lewis actually loses position to Mark, of all drivers. Funny enough, we were talking about him in the pre-race. Mark does have a lovely move on Lewis, and that is him for P9. Vibey's moved to P11. Max has moved up in the back to P12, overtaking Aussie Man, who's actually been overtaken by Nerf or Nuven in the Haas for P13. And Aussie Man not having the best of starts here in Imola. Meeks in the fastest first lap with a 120.3, and that will definitely be beaten come the second lap. Meeksy is still flying out with in front, but there is that 2/10 of a gap to Impulse, as Aussie Man does get that move done on Nerf or Newfen. And yeah, it's just simply clean-ish sort of first lap. Nothing too hectic, as Football Dog does get past Solzy for B5. Just a great little overtake from the Alpine driver. There's a lovely track starting actually from hash round down all the way to Mark. Everyone is in that DRS range to really push it at each other. Speaking of DRS, there's only one DRS train on this track, which is unfortunate because I really want to see some overtaking. I'll be on the massive pit straight. One of the longer pit straights on the F1 calendar, and the IRL calendar I should say. But they can come down to the final quarters. Meeks is still leading the way from pole. And he's going to come across the line to start lap 3. Nothing too hectic as of yet. As it stands, it's just flying everywhere. Fastest laps flying everywhere as Impulse takes the lead of the race down the straight, as actually Stamso's past Meeksy as well. That DRS coming into tow. Meeksy almost collecting Stamso there for a second, as Stamso had a moment coming out the first corner. 3-second time penalty for Cobus, the first one of the session. And Cobus actually had a bit of a moment coming out of the second chicane. He slid a little bit, but just like Tokyo Drift, he's kept it well, but does lose position to the McLaren of Vibey, who started P14 and is already all the way up to P9.
So let's go back to the start. Scorsy, 12 positions from where he started. I have no idea what happened there, but unfortunately he's down in P14 near the bottom. He's made 42 overtakes. He was last in P16. He makes 4 moves.
Driver moves. Vibey is the one to look at. 6 positions already gained for the McLaren driver. Impulse 4 positions gained. Same with Stanford. They've had a great start to this Imola GP, as it looks like Hashran gets moved on the Sauber of Meeks. There's a caution in at sector 3, just to the back. It's Nerfen and Aussie Man getting in a bit of tangle together as they're going to drop to the right back of the grid. And that is not what you want to see. That's another shot of the rest of the season. Jesus Christ, thank you very much, Calvi, for supplying all the alcohol.
He has damage, 20% on his left wing, left front wing. This is unfortunate. He's going to be losing major pace here.
Losing major pace, indeed. That is not what either of the drivers wanted to see come into this weekend. They were hoping some good points, make a nice recovery drive. But yeah, just unfortunate for incidents to pop up, and they were unfortunate enough to actually be in them. Let's hope they can have a great race and recover quite well, as Nerfen is slowly losing time to Fakeda in P14. Aussie is slowly gaining time, but as I say that, he's actually lost 3 tenths coming out of that corner. Max with a 3-second penalty for track limits. And got behind him Scorenzi, who is looking for a recovery drive for a lifetime, as Hashbrown sets fast start with 17-0 on those medium tyres. Speaking of Hashbrown, actually made a lovely overtake on Impulse there for P2. So he is absolutely flying this weekend. He looks for a great finish to this race. Scorenzi gets past Max and Lewis, actually. So brilliant move for the Red Bull driver coming off an incident on lap 1. He's going to look to push these tyres all the way to see what he can put towards finishing in the top 12, because top 12 do get points here. Funny enough, not like the traditional F1 of just top 10. You do award 11, 10, 12 with a couple of points here and there. As Stam, so the race leader does get a 3-second penalty for track limits. That's going to make his race just that little bit harder. And speaking of a little bit harder, you've got Hashram behind him in that DRS zone. Will he be able to get just enough time on him to get into that DRS range? It's looking good for that Ferrari driver behind him. You do have a long train of drivers. You've got Impulse, Meeksy, Terrell, Football Dog, Solzy, all in that train together, looking to overtake each other as they're going to cross to Hashfan, who's trying to catch that V-car in front of him. Terrell actually gets a great move on the Sauber of Meeksy for P4. Great little drive for the Aston Martin after losing a couple positions at the start, as Kobus gets past Scorenzi coming to the first corner. That's a great move for P10 for Kobus in the Mercedes, and behind him Max almost had a bit of a spin out coming out of the first chicane. As come to the second chicane, he's done it all lovely and nice. His feet are toasty warm in that Aston Martin. Hashbrown, 3-second time penalty for track limits. Like Mark said at the start,
these top 3 drivers are pushing so hard. Both top 2 drivers have 3-second penalties and some. This is like we're going back to tier 2. We're gonna see so many penalties. But again, this race is about minimizing them. We saw 18-second penalties to 1-minute penalties yesterday. We're just hoping that some of these teams can avoid them, as Hashbrown's going to go on the attack to Stamso.
Beautiful move for the Ferrari to take the lead of the race, but behind them, if the results were to stay as it is, he will be a win for the man in P3 of Impulse, who is currently 2 to 3 tenths behind the race leader. There's still that massive train starting off, as Terrell looked for a little bit of a move on the Alpine, but decided to back out almost immediately. And yeah, just great clean racing so far from everyone. And yeah, just hope this continues towards the end. There is no big shenanigans as of yet. So let's hope everything is all end good as they do take the end of Sector 2 there. It is still Hashran out the front of the pack at 4 tenths so in front of Stamso, who is wielding, both of them wielding a 3-second time penalty. So that's going to put them almost out of contention maybe for a race win, but they will still get a lot of decent points as Lewis and Max again gets a 3-second time penalty for track limits already. The Aston Martin of Max Messiah with 6 seconds of time penalties on lap 8. So definitely a little bit of cutting left and right as Hash Brown does lose the position to Stamso. He's going to be battling a long way through the this race. Behind them, you do have Impulse willing to catch up to that Ferrari in front. He's actually going to be on the rear of him already. He had a great exit out of the first corner, but a little bit of a moment coming out the exit of the second turn of the chicane, but he does keep it nice and tidy for the start of Sector 2. Looks for a bit of a move there on the Ferrari there, but kept it all clean. Did yield out the appropriate time. And there is a double right-hander Andrew loved talking about in Tier 2. Oh yeah, Tier 2 wasn't commentated by Andrew. It was commentated by this man next to me, Mark. He had a lot of fun with his old boy Toasty, and they did provide one of the great commentaries in Tier 2. So coming now to the end of lap 8, final corners, lovely. It was like a Baku-esque last sector. Last couple corners, beautiful sweeping left-handers towards the start of the track. A little bit tighter from Baku as you usually set, but everyone takes it really well. Hashran defends his line extremely well actually. For Impulse trying to dive down the inside of him, but he is absolutely having none of it coming down the straight. As when it cut across, who should we cut across to now?
Let's go on board with last out side of the finish, P14. They have a tremendous amount of penalties as Lewis slides 6 seconds, and Lewis with 3 and 6
Yeah, definitely not leading to the Mercedes as Max is still on the edge of Lewis. Stamso and Hashran actually get overtaken at the front of the grid by Impulse. He's actually been flying this race as Max does get another 3-second time penalty for track limits already on lap 9. Fitting enough, he's got 9 laps. 9 seconds worth of penalty as we come across the line starting our lap 10. We're in the double digits here in Imola, and Stamso is going to dive down the outside of Impulse to take a left away with DRS as well. He's going to be something different as Impulse and Hashran fight out the entry of that corner, but that is a lovely defending from Impulse here as Hashran loses a little bit of time to him, but does keep up very well. Football Dog actually gets a lovely move on Terrell coming on the outside. There's a bit of contact actually there from the Aston Martin and the Alpine, but everyone keeps their noses on track almost. The actual Alpine was almost off track, but rejoined safely in front of the Samba of Meeks. Has a vibey, has a... Sorry.
We're starting to see some of these gaps form. We're seeing about 3 packs, some back markers. But let's go to the zone. So much. I want to see these top 3 come this lap because this clip has hit. We've heard some of the radio messages from the engineers as on the attack with no penalties. So this is on.
as you see our first pit stop of the race, Tyrrell coming into the pits off his medium tyres. We don't know what kind of tyres he's going to put on. There's a caution in sector 1 actually. Meeksy had a bit of a moment losing a couple positions towards the start of sector 1, as where will Tyrrell come out? Tyrrell come out in P14. You just see the Haas of Newfoundland coming around the corner. And what tyres has the Aston Martin put on? He slapped on a brand new spanking set of hard tyres. Actually, pardon my French. Aussie man was actually first tried to pit on the hard tyres. He's 3 laps already on them. Tyrrell was only first one I actually noticed. See, Aussie man is unfortunately already down the back of the grid. He's 21 seconds behind Aussie man. Aussie man's 21 seconds behind Newfoundland for that P16 spot. What do you think these tyres? How long do you think these medium tyres are going to last, Mark?
These hard tires, I believe it's too early. It's gonna these last few laps on the hard tire. If this is the only stop for him, I mean, as Scorsese is gonna make 2 positions in 1. There's a bunch of people going to the pits. We're gonna let's go pit count. Kids fitting on the hards. A few people staying out, but is this too early?
It may be, however, noting drives I've had with mediums and hard tyres throughout my F1 career, 20 laps on the hards is definitely doable, depending on the track degradation of the Imola. Not only known for track degradation that much, so I'm pretty sure these hards are going to last all the way to the end of the race. Maybe towards the end of the last 5 laps. Going to be absolutely murderous on these hard tyres, but yeah, they should be decent enough to finish the race, as Lewis does get past his teammate of King Cobus. Actually, Lewis and Fakana started on the hard tyres, everyone else started on the mediums, so that is all good for everyone. Lap 12. Football Dog actually gets a beautiful, I was supposed to say beautiful overtake on Hash Brown, but Hash Brown is coming in to the pits. So he will pit. Soren and Mark will pit. There's a couple of time penalties flying out Meeksy with a 3-second time penalty there. And Zachary might come into the pits. As Cobus will come into the pits with those medium tyres. Now, will Nerf or Newfen come? He's actually up the back of Meeks. So will he come into the pits? Will he dive into the pits? No, he won't. He's got Solzy behind him on those fresher hard tyres, and he gets past. Cobus does drop down on it due to pitting. Mark also both having a really slow stop coming out now. Mark and Cobus pit 13 and P14 respectively. As Nerford still yet to pit off those mediums, he will probably drop back to the end of the pack, back down in P16. As Aussie Man has done quite well to catch up to his pack. Obviously, he did pit a lot earlier than the drivers in front. He's around 2 seconds behind of King Cobes P15. As suddenly we'll have a look at Vibey P4 for that man. Stamso does get past Impulse and Football Dog. Football Dog does also get past his teammate. Impulse actually in a pit. So Impulse, Serenity, and they'll push Fakana up into P3 on a starting tyre. We had that battle, and in front, Stamso leading the way, and Football Dog in P2. You got Lewis winning a couple positions. You got Impulse still in the pits, Vibey coming in the pits, and Serenity coming out of the pits. They're still dropping down a couple positions left, right, and centre, as Impulse will come out to P6. Serenity's actually going to drop down all the way to P11.
Let's look at the earliest with that window Terrell. Already in P4. So hitting early definitely helps. But Formula is on those fresh tires. And he's in P6. He's gonna make these tires work for him.
Definitely one to look at. The man from Alpine Impulse there in P6. Starting off this lap 14. Already in the middle of Sector 3, as you do see the top two, Stamso and Beetle, coming into the pits. That will push Fakana, actually, into P1. He's got a lovely gap to Terrell. That is a lovely drive from the McLaren to push him down to P1. Starting on the hards, may have actually worked in his favour. He's around 10 seconds in front of Terrell, who's currently riding in P2. Hashround and Impulse and Lewis moving up positions to Stamps and Football Dog pitting, but they are going to be on the soft, lovely, and fresher tyres as Meatsy is going to look to get past the Alpine as a double contact, and Meatsy's actually one wide from it. That's definitely to look out for the stewards, and Max does it on a 3-second time penalty for purely existing. So that's to put Meeks in a very bad situation there, having a lot of contact with that Alpine as Fakana gets a 3-second time penalty limits. So he's pits probably around lap 20 or 21 to get onto those medium tyres, or maybe if he's feeling bold enough, throw it on a set of softs and blast his way through the track and through everyone else. Just don't bulldoze anyone, please, for the love of God.
Those 3-second time penalties is going to motivate Terrell even more, but Terrell on those tires that I said he was gonna pay later on in the stint, but he's making it work for him. He is in P2. Maybe it will make him pay later on for sure, but we'll see then. We're halfway through this race.
Halfway through this race, yet no one DNFing yet. As you do see Max Messiah actually yamming it into the gravel trap. I'm not sure if that was a slight return to track, but from what I saw, it looked all good. Just seemed a little bit too quick to get the gravel trap, but then again, gravel is gravel, and it's not the favourite thing you'd want on your tyres. As Max is in P15, Ozyman getting a position from that man himself. As Meeksy does get past Lewis, there's a lovely battle actually in Sector 2 here. We're going to stay with Meeksy just for the second. He's got Beaton in front of him in the Alpine P7, as Lewis he's slowly dropping from those hard tyres, definitely needing the pit in a couple laps time, not to lose too much track position, I should say, as Solzy does get past that sitting duck of a Mercedes. Behind him, Scorenzi looking to get him for P11, as Impulse does set the fastest lap, 1:16.7 on those hard tyres. As down the pit straight, Lewis in a standard extra lap, and that's going to cost him a lot of time, as Scorenzi is going to dive down the pit straight and get him for P11. That is a great move, pretty much for the Rebel drivers. He looks for a nice recovery drive of himself, as Stamso gets a 3-second time penalty for track limits. He got 12 seconds actually for track limits, not the biggest one. Obviously Coas with a 12 seconds rule, but Max with 18 seconds worth of time penalties for that Aston Martin. Not how you'd want your beautiful Sunday evening to go in IRL, and that is definitely going to detonate confidence coming towards the end of the race, as Terrell is going to make those hards his bitch, as he's carving time into Fakana. Fakana's going to come into the pits, so that means on his debut for a couple of laps, Terrell, the man from Aston Martin, is going to put on a show here in Imola. He's going to lead the race on his debut. A great sight to see for the young man.
Ashburn's going to get the move done onto Lewis Smart. He took the fastest lap a lap ago. So that's a bit awkward. Again, Hash Brown has 3 seconds. We want to keep it clean for 4 minutes more. But again, he had the fastest lap. I thought he was making inroads, but I guess we'll take Hash Brown.
Definitely inroads for a lot of drivers, actually making up a lot of positions. We do look at the position change a little bit. Vibey 10 positions up from where he started. It's a great recovery drive for him, considering he didn't actually set a lap. He was starting at the back near Nerf, and that he really shows the talent this young man has in that McLaren. Picked up early a couple of races ago, and he's definitely impressed in that beautiful papaya orange. We got 6 spot.
Minx is down 5 positions. Let's go to. Let's see, he already has 3 seconds as he gets another 3 seconds on top of his 3 seconds. So 56.
Fakana's actually got a 10. I've just realised that now. Fakana got a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane when he came into the pits. He's on 13 seconds worth of penalties. That's not really supposed to happen, you silly boy. So that is that's not what you want to see for the McLaren driver, doing so well on those hards, but coming into pits was a little bit too quick for the steward's liking. As Impulse is going to be slowly trying to carve his way to Terrell, who actually, Terrell's got 3 lap older hards than the Alpine driver, as Max gets another 3-second time penalty, and that is a yellow flag in at the end of Sector 1, as that is Lewis actually going off track, and Kobus as well, stuck in the gravel. Both Mercedes having moments in Sector 1, as Lewis has lost a lot of time. He's actually doing donuts on track, and he rejoins the track safely after everyone brushes past him. That is not how they wanted this race to go, and they are certainly looking towards the end of this race not in the highest of hopes, as Impulse actually does get overtaken by Hashbrand along the straight. There's still that 3-second gap. Actually, Tyrrell also has a 3-second time penalty for track limits, so he's got to really clean towards this middle part of the race. Unfortunate for him, he still does lead, but come the end of the race, Impulse, who's kept it really clean. I'm not sure if he's got any warnings, the Alpine driver, but as of now, he will get a net P1 position, if you can say, from the 3-second window of the drivers in front.
Both Mercedes drivers off in turn 2, I believe, and turn around beginning of sector 2. But the one with most damage is, I believe, is going to be Lewis. He has literally he has 100% of his left wing missing, and he's still making inroads. He had, I believe he set the fastest lap at some point, but maybe pushing too hard.
Maybe pushing it hard for the driver from Mercedes. So look at the fastest lap. It is Scorenzi with a 1:16.6. The next lap to him would be, if I can just scan everyone really quickly with my eyes, it would be Impulse with a 1:16.7. So not too much of a gap there for Scorenzi the Impulse. And maybe one of these drivers towards the end, if they've got nothing to lose, just pin on a set of softs and take that fastest lap for yourself for your personal glory.
It's all about managing your tires here in P1 and 2 and 3, but Hash Brown has 6 seconds. This is going to maybe take him to the bottom of the podium, because since I was 12 seconds, that has to be missing. Formula It's Smart is the only person in that top 6 without penalties. Hopefully he can make it or keep it clean, as that would put him in the net P1, as you said. He's gaining all the time on Terrell, but Hash Brown has pitted. He pitted 1 lap later from Formula Smart, and he's still making inroads to that Alpine, who is clearly faster in some parts, but he could make this overtake Hash Brown. And he's gonna make that.
And it does. It's a beautiful move from the Ferrari driver for P2, but will he be able to hold up that Alpine for just long enough to make this man on provisional P1, Terrell, on his debut, lap 22, I didn't mean for that to rhyme. He is still in the lead of this race, pushing on those hard tyres. A great choice, actually, to come out early for that man in the Aston Martin. As he's still he's actually 2.2 seconds now in front of Hash Brown. Obviously, him fighting with the impulse for P2 currently has slowed him down that just a little bit as they come across now to the chicane at the end of set 2, start of set 3. And what will these drivers need to put out towards this middle end part of the race? Impulse obviously going to have the DRS the DRS in tow as Lewis does another 3 4 track limits coming across the final corner. So lap 23. Impulse can have a lot of DRS and a lot of battery to burn. Come this straight. He's going to use it to his advantage. And Hash Brown is just sat there. Nothing really much he could do as he does take P2 away from the Ferrari.
Hash Brown has 8 warnings. So if he has one more warning, that's 9 seconds of penalties. That will surely take him out of the top 2. But with that 12-second penalty stamp, so that's gonna be his little border. That's gonna be hopefully he doesn't improve on or not improve, but how do you say, like fall off, you know, the tire clip. With these, let's go to the tires. As Hash Brown has 10 lap old tires, Terrell 12. And one of the small some fresh tires. Maybe he's conserving tires to make it more useful later on in this.
Absolutely. Obviously, with the freshest of the top 3, he's going to be a little bit quicker than Terrell. At a series of 1.7, saying that slowly fluctuating around to 1.7, 1.8. As lap 24 is well and truly underway. Terrell still leading the race here on his debut for Aston Martin, and behind him Impulse with an P1 so far, 0.3 seconds time penalty for Terrell as Vibey does get past Mixie for P5 and headed to round the end round out the top 3. Hash Brown the 6-second time penalty, but he will probably keep his spot considering Stamso is P4 but with 12 seconds of time penalties as Mixie does get a 3-second time penalty for track limits, so that will not do him any favours. Aussie Man does get past Mark in that Williams as Mark is into the pits off his hard tyres. Probably had a bit of damage, maybe a wing change to pit onto those medium tyres, looking to push him towards these last couple 8-9 laps of the race. He's got a new driver to pit twice as Lewis is going to make his way around the track. Last of the running drivers is B-Dot does get a 3-second time penalty for track limits. That's the first of him for the race, keeping it really clean all the way up to lap 25 as Lewis still pushing on these hard compound tyres. 23 laps on him. And yet again, Max does get a 3-second time penalty. He's up to all the way to 27 seconds of time penalties. That is what's definitely not going to be the 1 minute we saw yesterday from a D-Train. But that is it's poor showing for the track limits here in Imola. Obviously a very tight track. You got to stick it really nicely. But yeah, that is it's just not the way you'd want your weekend to go. As Aussie Man just flying to the pits. Cobras again, 3-second time penalty, 4 track limits. He's on 15 at the moment. As Aussie Man dives out of the pit lanes there. He's going to come out, I believe, in P14 if no Van Lewis can get a hurry on a little bit there. We're going to come across the pits now. It's actually a very slow.
Go to P5.
Very. Just had a word from the boss. Kazu's come in and told us to hurry the fuck up and go to P5. Thank you, Kazu. See you in P5. B-Dot's actually got P5 from Vibey there. And there's a long train to Scorenzi. This will be the closest battle on track. Speaking of battle, you've got Imola trying to catch Hash Brown. Those hards for Tyrrell are definitely going to be waning a little bit come the end of this race. And he is looking a little bit worse away here with that 3-second time penalty looming over his head. Yeah, but he's still in front on track as of yet. Hashdown is catching up to him, and so is Impulse behind him. And we're going to cut quickly to that top 3 coming around the end of Sector 3 as Tyrrell actually gets another 3-second time penalty for track limits. So that's putting him in a very bad spot. The Aston Martin, as you've got Hashburn and Impulse here behind on fresher tyres. Hashburn's going to take away the race. Will Tyrrell be overtaken by that Alpine? Yes, he will. Those Warner hards for the Aston Martin coming back to Portland, but he is still a long way away from Stamso with that 12-second time penalty. As actually off in the back, Stamso having a moment out of the third corner, and he's jammed himself into the gravel trap, blasting his way all the way down to P8. He's actually lost his wing. So that's a very bad moment for the V-Carb driver and for the V-Carb team in general. Looking at great points this weekend, but it seems they will surely have to pit, and that is an unfortunate way for your Grand Prix to come to a screeching halt. I'm not sure what actually happened, but yeah, that's very unfortunate for Sam. So I'm going to come back to the top 3 as Max is actually disqualified from the session for accumulating too many penalties, 30 seconds worth of penalties, and he's going to be parked along the side of the track, and that is his race done and dusted. No disqualification from yesterday in Tier 2, so that is very odd to see for the Aston Martin team, as Max's race is done and dusted. But one positive for this Aston Martin team, Tyrrell, actually. In P3, he's looking for a podium finish, actually. Because Maxi is 12 seconds behind, there's only 4 or 5 laps to go. Tyrrell has smashed this out of the park here. And that is definitely a contention for driver of the day, maybe. This man on debut. As we're looking at him coming across the edge of Sector 2. Hasham with another 3-second time penalty. So Tyrrell actually, if he stays in this train, he could get a P2 finish, as there's a caution in Sector 2. It may have been Lewis having a bit of a moment down that little straight. But it's not the race for either Mercedes, as Cobus is most likely going to drop the order down to where his teammate is. Probably a P14 and 15 finish for both drivers there.
Well, is losing time as he's just barely missed DRS as Hashdown makes that move, but again, he has 9 seconds of penalties. His battle isn't with Lewis Mark, it's with Terrell. And Terrell has that 3-second advantage just because of the warning he got, I think, a lap ago. And he needs to get a move on. Maybe this is his strategy to make, to get a car in between him and Terrell.
Probably his strategy, but that car is extremely quick. That Alpine of Impulse flying around, a double right-hander coming up the hill. Now that's a lovely part of the track that I personally do enjoy myself, coming out to the top of the hill with chicane. Almost a little lock up there from Impulse, so I'll put a little bit of advantage to Tyrrell, who gains around 3/10 of a second. He's going to come behind now. Him coming up to that chicane itself is Football Dog. He's a lovely train behind him of Makes the Strength and Vibey, who's done really well to push himself up to P7. But Sorenzi, looking at the time penalties here, he's actually going to be bumped up to P4. due to Meeksy and Forward having time penalties in front of them. Cobus, yet again, another 3 time penalty for track limits. As you come now to the DRS straight. What can any of these drivers do to pull a gap on anyone as Meeksy gets moved on Football Dog, and Serenity gets moved on as well. Locke having a lovely tow from the Sauber driver as Football Dog actually has a bit of a wide moment, almost hitting the gravel but right in the curve, and they'll put Vibey into P6 as Lewis gets another 3-second time penalty for track limits.
We're all just having an interaction with the back marker. You know, he was ghosted. He is outside of DRS range at this very moment. He could lose, well not lose, but he could guarantee a P3 just by losing, and he's using all his ERS. He's taking the mate into that DRS zone. As yellow flag.
There's a caution in sector 1. Sorry, that is Samso, who's retired from this session. As where has that man got? He's just stuck on the side of the track. He's retired on track, and that is that V-Cub drivers race done and dusted there. DNF, the first actual DNF from the race, and it's only taken us to the lap 31 here in Imola. Samso retiring from the session, and that is not very good for the V-Cub driver. Coming back in front, we've got Serenzi making the move on Meeksy, and Vibey's going to dive down the inside of that Sauber, and he's going to lose a lot of time, Meeksy, as he's got Football Dog just on the outside, rowing his racing here in IRL. They're going to come towards the next corner, and Meeksy keeps that position from the Alpine, but he's lost a lot of time due to contact with that McLaren of Vibey, and he's definitely took a bit of a knock from that McLaren. He does have a 6-second penalty. He's definitely going to lose a position come the end of the race. But he's gotten towards the end of sector 3. We are going to cut across to Impulse, who's 2/10 in front of Hash Brown. Coming across the final corner to start lap 32 here, the final lap of this Grand Prix, and Impulse has taken initiative and dived down the inside of Hash Brown to take the lead of this race. The only driver in that top 3 to not have track limit penalties over his head, as Terrell actually gets the move done as well on Hash Brown. He's looking for a beautiful way to finish off his debut drive in IRL. P2 finish is all he can really muster up, unless it is a monumental cock-up from the Alpine driver, but we do not wish on anyone. Is actually, if you can just see on the telemetry of Impulse, he's actually, the fuel light is blaring red, as do for Tyrrell. So they may have slightly underfueled, but they should get to the end of this race as you come now to the middle of sector 3. The chicane taken well by all of the top 3. Still that train behind them, Scorenzi, you've got Vibey. Football Dog's actually lost a bit of time to that McLaren due to Meeksy holding him up a little bit. But Terrell's actually made a great move, and that's Hash Brown off the track towards the end of the race, and that will put Impulse, who wins it in Imola, Terrell P2. What has happened at the back with Hash Brown? There may have been contact with Terrell towards the end of the race, but Hash Brown, with his 9-second time penalty, is going to lose out to this man, Serenzi, with a great recovery drive. He puts himself in P3. Hash Brown drops all the way to P4. There may have been contact with the Aston Martin team. That is surely something to look at from the stewarding office. P5 for the other Alpine of Football Dog, as Fakana gets that 10-second time penalty added to the end of his time for speeding in the pit lane. There's a caution in sector 2. That is King Cobus actually going really slowly. He's run out of fuel towards the end of this lap, and behind him you can see that man, Aussie man, who hasn't. He's going to blast down that straight, get that overtake done for P11. come the end of this race, Solzy will finish at P8, Macy finishes P7, Vibey, a great recovery drive from him to finish P6, Fakana gets P9 at the rounding out the top 10, Mark will finish off, Aussie Man gets Cobus on the last lap in Sector 3, great finishing position after the horrid start for that Williams team to finish with more than 1 point is surely a positive for that team, but all that matters is a race win, and a race win goes to Impulse as Vibey deservedly gets a driver of the day for a great recovery drive here in Imola. What did you think of that, Mark?
Absolutely amazing. I mean, we didn't think we would see that many penalties, obviously, in T2, but our expectations are always defied here. And yeah, I believe we saw 20 seconds of penalties here. That was the maximum we saw. A bunch of more professionalism this race, but yeah.
As you see that beautiful Mexican flag brought out for the race winner, Impulse and Alpine. They had actually 3 races on the bounce, I believe, for that team. Had a great win a couple races ago, and another one to boot for that Alpine team. It is Impulse who takes the win here in Imola. And there are the podium celebrations. As you do see, Terrell on his debut for Aston Martin, I believe, taking a very well-deserved podium and Serenity beating out Hash Brown due to those time penalties, and that is your Imola GP this weekend done and dusted. I'm your commentator GoldenSniper, along with your boy Mark here. Any final words you want to send off?
No. This was a great race, and I hope you can join us next week.
It's an absolute great race, and we'll see you next week here in IRL. Have a good night.